Do you know that Diddy might get sentenced earlier than the original time? In October? Let me tell you why. Okay, so first we're gonna go in. You already know that P. Diddy was convicted of 2 out of 5 charges. And we're gonna go over what he got acquitted of and what he got convicted of. I'm gonna read an article from People magazine, and then I'm gonna tell you why he may get sentenced earlier. So it says, the article says, how Diddy reacted after he was acquitted of most serious charge but convicted of 2 sex crimes. Sean Diddy Combs was convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking. And those were the most, the racketeering and sex trafficking were the most serious. After Sean Diddy Combs was found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, the most serious charges he faced, the music mogul called out to his family in the courtroom. "Thank you," Combs said. "Love you, Mom. I love you. I love you. I love you." Combs later knelt down, bowed his head like he was praying. Combs was convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution and faces potential prison time, but was acquitted of the most serious charge, which could have landed him a life sentence had he been convicted. On the counts he was convicted of, he faces the possibility of 10 years in prison for each one. Following the verdict, members of Combs' family in the courtroom erupted in applause and wiped away tears from their eyes. They also started chanting "Dream Team" at his high-powered attorneys. Teeny Gregios, one of Combs' lead lawyers, had tears running down her face and hugged members of Combs' family. Judge Aaron Submarian will now decide if Combs is released on bond prior to his sentencing. The Bad Boy Records founder could still face several years in prison for the prostitution convictions, but far fewer than he would have faced if convicted on all counts. Prosecutors had charged Combs with sex trafficking, accusing him of forcing and coercing women, including his exes, Cassie, and a woman who testified under the name Jane, into participating in elaborate sex performances with male sex workers, known as freak-offs and hotel nights. Over the course of the trial, which began May, prosecutors called 34 witnesses over the course of 29 days of testimony. Ventura's testimony, which occurred while she was 8.5 months pregnant, lasted several days and detailed allegations of abuse and detailed descriptions of freak-off. Defense attorneys successfully argued that the prosecution failed to prove the most serious charges. All right, and that is the article from People magazine. But as you already know, the same day that the verdict came down, because the jury was locked on the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, they finally came to a not guilty verdict. And that same day, the judge told everybody to have a break because they were asking for bond for Diddy. And he said, "All right, come back to me at 5 o'clock. But within that time, we had Cassie write a letter to the attorney asking him not to let Diddy out. We also have one of the male escorts write a letter to the judge asking him not to let Diddy out because they're still in fear of their lives, that when he comes out, he was asking to be released on $1 million bond and have access to travel between New York, LA, Miami, and Star Island. I think Star Island is in Miami. And the attorneys were told to come back, to court at 5 p.m. to have the judge's decision. And the judge decided that he would not release P. Diddy on bond, that he would keep him in, and he would set the date for sentencing October 5th. However, at that same meeting with the judge said, he could change the date if the attorneys and P. Diddy wanted to. And they do. They said, okay, they would like to actually have the sentencing done earlier so that he could start his time and be out to continue his life, because you have a lot of people waiting on him and depending on him to come home. At that same hearing, the defense attorneys said that, you know, there was a lot of things that they weren't able to submit to the court. Like, for instance, just before he got arrested, that he was in New York, P. Diddy was in New York seeking to enter what's called a batterer's intervention program. And I went and Googled that, and it says the purpose of the batterer intervention program is to provide an additional disposition for the court or mandating agency for men who appear as a result of their acts of domestic violence. So they're trying to prove to the court that he was trying to do better and to address what was going on. But yet we hear one of the sex workers testify that after Diddy did that apology video that went viral on social media, that same night or a couple of nights after that, he was back to doing, you know, what he was doing. But as they say, he was just living a swingers lifestyle. And from the testimony that we hear, we see that the ladies, some of them were into it, but according to the prosecutors, they only did it because they were financially dependent on Diddy. And the psychologist says, you know, once you get into that headspace, it's hard to come out. But I'm digressing. So what's supposed to happen is now on July 8th, which is tomorrow, the judges have to come, the prosecutors and the defense have to come in front of the judge and give a good reason why Diddy should be sentenced earlier than October 8th. They're supposed to convene at noon tomorrow and explain why they want him to be sentenced earlier than October. He wants to get started with his sentence, and of course he's going to be credited time served with him being in the MDC facility since September of 2024. And from there he gets sentenced, and I'm not sure, I'm guessing he's probably going upstate to Fishkill or something. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to put him, but it's not going to be Rikers, because Rikers is closing, and Rikers is a state jail, and I think he's going to federal jail because what he did, you know, he crossed state lines with what he was doing, and that's what made it a federal crime. So they're supposed to convene at Tuesday, July 8th at noon, and from there we'll hear. So I got this information from another YouTube channel, Chronicle Speaks. She's been covering this trial since the beginning, since before he even got arrested. So those were my two actual sources of getting information, was Chronicle Speaks, and also on Twitter we have Michael from Inner City Press. He was actually in the courtroom, writing word for word everything that was being, you know, said back and forth. And I got a ton of information for him. I always follow him because he covers the big cases, and he is right up in there giving it to you as if you're sitting there with him. Another thing that happened after the news is reporting that after the verdict was read and Diddy went back to the facility, that he got a round of applause, standing ovation from the other prisoners, because in their minds he beat the most serious charge, and you know, he won't be going to jail for life. But I just wanted to come and let you know that watch the news or watch Twitter tomorrow, that that the prosecutors and the defense attorneys are coming back in front of the judge, and Diddy may get sentenced earlier than October. Okay, so that's my update. I just wanted to come to you with that. If you're interested in reality TV reviews, celebrity gossip, celebrity entertainment, entrepreneurship in the digital space, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. And until next time, be sure to take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye. Tired of the same old styles? Ready to make waves with your wardrobe? Welcome to Touch Me Textures, where bold meets beautiful and every piece is designed to turn heads. Our collections are all about textures that feel as good as they look. From flowy dresses to eye-catching accessories, we've got everything you need to express your style your way. Find pieces that speak to you for every vibe, every adventure. And the best part? Our site makes it easy to shop and easy to fall in love with everything. So why wait? Dive into style that's uniquely yours at touchmetextures.com. Feel fabulous, look unforgettable. Click the link in the description to check out all we have to offer.